Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode numero 8 of the Discussioneers, our D&D or tabletop gaming podcast, whatever we want to call it these days. I really don't know. But we are talking about D&D today, and we're talking about, you guessed it, more Unearthed Arcana.
Kind of our go-to, really.
Yeah, well, we were going to
Reliable.
change it up, but, some people were on vacation, other people were just not available, and then, another Unearthed Arcana dropped this year, and it's the first of, I guess, more to come, because the title of this Unearthed Arcana is 2020 Part 1, so what does that tell you?
It's strange because it makes me think. I know we were speculating beforehand that it seems like they're coming out with another book of classes and things, but this makes me think that this is literally the ones they are thinking of putting in a book. Like it's going to be part 1, 2, 3, right?
Maybe.
All the different
Maybe.
subclasses for each class.
Yeah.
That's very possible. That, or they just need to come up with a better name, because you can't just keep putting, like, Fighter, Rogue, Wizard, because eventually you're going to get a repeat, you know?
Yeah, there's that as well. Yeah.
So who knows? But before we get ahead of ourselves, obviously I am BBQuasar, Matt. I am joined with Bryce and Nate. We are here to discuss some more Arcana bullshit. There's 4 we got coming at you today. We got the
So it's going to be a short one.
yeah, we say that now. Actually, it might be because, well, at least shorter than you might expect, because there's only really one here that I have complaints with after rereading them. There's minors and a couple of the other
I
ones.
haven't read any of them.
Oh,
We're going to
shit.
get a live reaction.
This is good. We have a good roundabout sort
Yes.
of focus group here. We have Nate that is going to be the wide-eyed newcomer on the
Yep.
block that's going to be just raw immediate emotion. There's going to be me that actually secretly hates this game, and BB who's the impartial one that actually likes Warlocks for some weird reason.
Dude, Warlocks are fine. Anyways, you
So he says.
You want to get us?
So he does say.
Yeah, no, they're seriously fine. I have Warlocks today that are players in my other games, and
Yep.
they
So
say
he
it's great,
says.
So he continues.
Moving
to
on.
say.
Why don't you get us started, Mr. Bryce, and jump us right into this document so we can start getting through it.
Yeah, so first thing we have up on the charm block is a new subclass for the Barbarian,
Yay.
Path of the Beast.
Ooh, I like this one.
This one is neat. Starting at 3rd level, you get the Form of the Beast feature. When you enter your rage, you can transform, revealing the bestial power within you. Till your rage ends, you manifest a natural melee weapon, choosing one of the following options each time you rage. You can either form a bite, where your mouth transforms to a bestial snout or great mandibles. Your bite deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit, and once on each of your turns when you damage a creature with your bite, you regain a number of hit points equal to your constitution modifier, minimum of 1. You can form claws. Your hands transform into claws, which deal 1d6 slashing damage. When you take the attack action on your turn and make an attack with your claws, you can make one additional attack using your claws as part of the same action. And tail, you grow a lashing spiny tail, which deals 1d12 piercing damage on a hit and has the reach property.
Options.
So it's
Yeah.
neat. It seems like kind of the gist as this continues, you get more and more features for that. You get, instead of using a weapon, you're instead going to be using this like modified mutation that you're forming. I don't like the fact that the bite has just actual healing. It's not like, I would expect it to be like temporary health. I'd be cool with that, but it's just straight up full on healing for a class that's already super beefy and going to be taking half damage from most sources.
I had a very strong feeling that you were going to have a problem with this, and I want to immediately come back with a counter and why I have no problem with this. So keep in mind that this subclass is like most barbarians, and the fact that, when you're raging, you're only getting your resistances to slashing, bludgeoning and piercing or whatever, right? So the only other one that kind of supersedes that is the bear totem barbarian, obviously, which gets resistance to everything but psychic. So my point being is there is a barbarian out there.
Now there's a middle ground.
Now there's a little bit of a middle ground.
It used to be either you only get the bases or you go bear totem because it's bear totem.
Yeah.
But now there's kind of a medium there with this.
And it's really not even that. It's when you get into later levels where you're taking more damage than you're probably ever going to heal. Because you got to keep in mind it is a once per turn heal, and it's just, there's no die or anything required. It's just your con mod. So in most cases, maximum is going to be anywhere from 3 to 5, right, of hit points that you're getting back. Now it just kind of adds a little bit of buffer to the other damage types, similar to a bear totem barbarian, who just gets to half all damage except for psychic, which in my opinion is still going to be way more protective in the long run as far as defensively than getting a little bit of healing every turn. So
That was
yeah. So
that was exactly what I was thinking of the healing as well. I was like,
Mhm.
some people are not going to like the healing, but
yeah,
now there's a little bit difference
I
there
suppose
between
that's
like bear
fair,
totem and not.
especially considering most combats are only going to last, a few rounds. So most
Right.
you're going to
Yeah,
get,
like
10 to 15 health.
Yeah, like 15 health. Yeah.
I will
But
say
the
this is
issue-
probably the only class where the healing would work, because you put the same ability on like a fighter, well, then we'll have to talk,
Yeah.
But anyways,
The issue though, I'm seeing like, well, I don't. Do you guys consider an issue? Because what if like trying to abuse that out of combat in some way? I guess you still have to hit a creature, so you'd have to have someone to like a punching bag. Like it'd be the same thing like we were having with the astral monk. What if you just had a bunch of rabbits that you just and heal yourself?
That's
for the
when
whole
you
individual.
say to your player, "No, you cannot do that."
Fair enough.
That's how
Yeah.
you circumvent that.
Yeah.
That's
well, the problem is
Which
that can be said with a lot of shit in D&D. I think even things that are published like right out the gate. Like look at
there are so many things that are easily
exploiting.
abusable, especially like out of combat and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
and no DM is ever going to be like, just tell your players no, because you're never supposed to tell your players no. But tell them to go fuck themselves if you don't want to say no.
You can say
I
no.
don't
It's
care
your
what you
game.
say.
You're
It's
the
your
master.
game. Yeah, if
Fair
you
enough.
don't want people
I do
cheesing your
somewhat-
game, just say no.
But to your point though, Bryce, you do have to keep in mind that this is only when you're raging. So even if you were a DM that allowed it and didn't give a shit, you still are burning through
You're
your
gonna
limited
rage out of
uses
combat.
rages. That's
Yeah.
only going to be super exploitable when
Yeah,
you
I
get
guess
into the
there
high
is
levels when you
that.
get unlimited rages. So you'd be using your
Uh,
precious rages, which you probably don't want to do, because then when you do get in an actual fight, you're not going to be able to have your damage. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Fair.
Um,
So the other thing then is, like you guys were saying with mediums, I noticed this thing kind of also steps on the toes of the berserker a little bit, in that the claws where you get to make an additional attack with it's no bonus action or anything, is similar to the frenzy where the berserker can go into a special even angrier rage and as a
Right.
bonus action make an additional weapon attack. Now, admittedly, the berserker can use like a great axe and
A
have
weapon,
a 12 extra
right.
attack
Yep.
rather than this, but it's interesting that this subclass, at least at the early levels, is like kind of right. Is like a middle ground between you can have the healing or like the damage mitigation of the bear totem. You can have the extra
Yeah.
attacks of berserker.
Yeah, I don't think anything's broken here. I think that's going to be a little ridiculous if you choose tail and you're just fucking spinning
yeah.
around and hitting people with your tail all fight long. Visually, like mechanically, obviously the numbers are fine, but visually it's a little bothersome because I just think it's ridiculous. But who knows? Maybe that's fun.
You lash 'em.
At 6th level, you get Bestial Soul. The feral spirit within you grows in power, causing the natural weapons of your form beast to count as magical for purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity, non-magical damage, which is about on par with monks and when you're supposed to about be getting magical weapons, according to the book. You can also call on your feral spirit to help you adapt to your surroundings. When you finish a short or long rest, choose one of the following benefits, which lasts until you take another short or long rest. You gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. You gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you can climb difficult surfaces upside down, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check. You jump. You can make a strength athletics check and extend your jump by a number of feet equal to the check's total. This is only usable once per turn. Now, admittedly, there's a sidebar on the actual document that says you can only jump so far as your actual movement allows. You can't, jump 60 feet if you only have 40 feet of movement. You will do 40, be midair, I believe, and then next turn continue last.
That is correct.
20.
That's actually just in the general movement rules, and a lot of people overrule it, or overlook it, myself included. But you are correct. I think that's just a reminder
You can't
for the
like
rules.
stack this and the jump spell,
Mhm.
and to like just like in one turn I jumped
Yeah.
300 feet in
Right.
Zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, those are fine. They're kind of or they're kind of underwhelming compared to some of the other stuff that it's all just
Yeah,
like movement.
a lot of the stuff does give you stuff like that, though. It's kind of weird stuff. It's not really.
It's
But
nothing
the climbing is
exceptional.
pretty good. Climbing's pretty good.
Yeah, and depending depending on situations, the water one would be decent too. It's okay. It's nothing fantastic, but I mean, I don't hate it.
Equal, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's the only issue I have is I feel like there's a lot of cooler abilities that other subclasses for Barbarian get, but I mean, some of that they're not all going to be the same.
Well, you also have to keep in mind that, to your point, the rest of the subclasses on Barbarian typically have just like one thing or maybe a choice of things, but those choices are just once forever. Versus this one, you have three different things you can choose between. Yeah, you can swap out during a short or long rest. So while it's three kind of minor things, you can kind of you're constantly kind of.
Oh, it is nice because you can like if you're going to be underwater, you take
Yeah.
short rest for half an hour or an hour according to the book, and you can now breathe underwater. Like that's not bad.
Yep. So yeah, it's not bad. I have no problem with it.
At 10th level, you get Infectious Fury. When you hit a creature with natural weapons while you're raging, the spirit within you can curse the target with Rabid Fury. The target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw equal to the DC equal to 8 plus your Constitution modifier plus proficiency, or one of the following effects of your choice. Target must use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice that you can see, or the target takes 2d12 psychic damage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Con modifier. Interesting that you expend all uses of the when you finish a long rest. It's interesting that one of these is limited and the other isn't.
What do you mean?
Well, it's the target. The thing that says you can use this feature is underneath the bullet point of the target takes X amount of psychic damage. Oh no, that's an issue with 5e tools. That's okay. Never mind. Sorry, both of them are limited. Just 5e tools shows that as under. Okay, they're on the same limitation.
Okay, so yeah, our thing is okay.
Just the document we're using to compare them is screwy.
Yeah. So I mean, ain't bad. I every time we see, at least for me, I see a barbarian get something in a subclass though that allows them to get an extra attack of any kind. I tend to not like it, or at least I go on the spectrum of not liking it for the simple fact of, the Berserker Barbarian who is all about being, the combat heavier, making as many attacks as possible, can only really do that with a cost, right? Like the Berserker Barbarian can go into a Frenzied Rage and be able to every turn make those an extra attack as a bonus action or whatever, but they're getting exhaustion at the end of it. Now, granted, this one is a limited ability one where you're still going to get a lot more miles out of the Berserker Barbarian, so which is why I don't hate it. I always feel bad when something gets introduced in the Barbarian subclass that starts giving the Barbarian extra attacks, and I'm just like, oh man, Thankfully, if this didn't have the caveat of having a limitation to your con modifier, I think this would be real bad. But I think that's its only saving grace.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting enough that one, Barbarians, I don't think, do any other subclasses give them psychic damage? I don't think they do.
No. I was looking at that before too, and I don't think so. I think there might have been a different subclass that came in through the UA that might have done it at one point, but nothing that got published. And the document we're using to compare is all the current. We always compare it to the current published stuff. We don't take into consideration any of the other UAs that aren't official yet. And right now, officially, there is no. At least that I'm seeing here. I'm glancing through real quick again, and I don't see anything that does psychic damage.
Which that's always something I'm super down for, is giving classes access to damage types that they don't always have.
Yeah, it's just
nice, especially psychic.
I agree. It's just the problem with psychic is anytime you give a subclass psychic damage, right? That's one of those damage types that are rarely resisted. So you're giving them something that is going to be always effective, whereas other subclasses who like, oh cool, like I got fire on my shit now, but half the monsters where I'm at are resistant. Like it does kind of suck.
You're right. We should change it to poison damage, so it's never useful.
That's the polar opposite of my example. But yeah, I don't hate it. I'm just saying, it is a little frustrating sometimes when you're seeing psychic damage used a lot. And but anyways, I
Finally,
think
at
this one's a little
14th
weird
level-
though. I'm not gonna lie, for flavor wise.
What do you mean?
Setting just because like I don't know, like it's weird that you're attacking somebody and you're making them infectious fury. Just the whole thing is you're hitting them and they become kind of rabid. It's a little weird. I mean, granted, to be fair, if you use the beast origins in the beginning of the document that give you 4 examples of ideas of how you got this bestial power, one of which is like, which I'm not going to go over the other ones, but the one of which is one of your parents is a lycanthrope. You've inherited some sort of a curse, so maybe that one would make sense. Like you have some sort of curse, or why are you infectious? Like why it doesn't seem like it seems very specific to say if you are this subclass, you have something that can infect people. That just seems kind of weird to me. I don't know.
Wow, you're really going
I
on
think-
another one of those soul searching journeys with this one.
I think the idea is it's not so much that you're like actually infecting them, it's just it's a curse that's like it's like more of a ill magic than it is like any actual disease.
Maybe I don't know. Mechanically, it's fine. The ability is fine. The flavor just seems a little weird. But anyways, I just wanted to put that out there that maybe
No, I could see that.
maybe
I mean,
swapping
it
that
is-
out with something a little bit, maybe going a different direction with the flavor. Because for me, it's just like I don't know. It's just.
I like the making the melee attack is kind of like flavorfully just have like a moment of like blind rage.
Mm-hmm.
I think the psychic damage is a little weird. Like, oh, you caught rabies.
That's what I'm saying.
Headache.
It's just weird, right? It's just weird. I
You're
feel
not
like
wrong. It is a little. It is that
Yeah.
that part of it's a little weird. It's just like they're frothing their mouth and just ow my head.
this is the only one of the subclass that I just think it's weird. I honestly think that this one can just get tossed out and they put something else in. It's just the flavor just seems odd to me. But
I wouldn't be opposed.
yeah, let's move on to the next one because I'm really curious on what your guys' thoughts on this one is.
So at 14th level, you get Call of the Hunt. The beast within grows so powerfully you can spread its ferocity to your allies. When you enter your rage, you can choose a number of willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum of 1 creature. Till your rage ends, the chosen creatures gain the Reckless Attack feature and have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. You also gain 5 temporary hit points for each creature that accepts the benefit. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, regain all for Yes, yes, yes. I love this. I love everything about this.
So to clarify, because you got a little robot there, you until your rage ends while you're raging, and you can do a number of people up your con mod. So it's for most barbarians with good con, which most of them do, and with an average size party, you're going to be able to affect pretty much your entire party. But they get the reckless attack feature, which is a reminder is you can make a reckless attack, which means all your attacks on your turn have advantage. But as a caveat, all attacks against you until the start of your next turn have advantage against you. So basically, you're going all fury mode. It inspires all your allies to go fury mode if they choose. They have to be willing. And then if they choose to accept this, you get 5 temporary hit points per creature that accepts the benefit. So you get a bunch of temp HP. You get advantage against being frightened, and your friends can start making reckless attacks. And you said you love this, Bryce?
Yes, I love it. I love everything about this. I love that you're giving you're like giving a class benefit to other people that they wouldn't otherwise have it. I love that it's thematic the bravery that you already have like paladins and stuff that obviously they get a much earlier version, but this is a widespread resistance to being frightened, which then they don't have to stay around you. Keep in mind, once they gain the benefit, they just have it.
I
And the
think
fact
the
that
word
you're-
doesn't the wording say you have advantage on saving throw. I don't think it makes your allies have advantage on being frightened. It's just you're only giving them the reckless attack.
I see. Okay, I
So
misread
you're
that
giving them
then.
reckless attack, and then you gain advantages on saving throws against
Okay,
being
I see.
frightened.
I thought it said that you give all of them advantage against
No.
being frightened, which I would think would be okay. That now I'm starting to think it's a little maybe underwhelming, but adding that in I think would be neat.
Okay.
But the fact that you're gaining temp HP based on how many people accept it, I think is a neat mechanic that they haven't really messed around with. Like maybe like actual healing might be better, but I like the idea of gaining benefits based on like how many people you help. Like it's just a mechanic we haven't seen before that I like that Wizards of the Coast is explore.
It's true. What's your thoughts, Nate? I'm really curious. You're muted, by the way.
I really like the idea of just having your entire party of fighters and rogues, and all of a sudden now they can just make all their reckless attacks
Mhm.
just over and over and over again. And I also like the health
So
based on proximity.
here's my thoughts, and I think this might just be an issue of wording for the ability. So I like that. I'm with you, Bryce. I agree that this is something that is unique. This is an ability we haven't seen before. You're granting your feature to your allies, and you're getting HP based on. There's some cool elements there. I like that it's reckless attack, which is a feature that has a benefit at a cost kind of thing, which I think is an ability that just works here. However, here's my problem. They make this whole shtick with the ability that says a creature has to be willing, and only the creature's willing give you the temporary HP bonus. Here's the problem. The reckless attack feature is an optional choice. So why would your party not accept this? They could just accept this and just not make reckless attacks. Your wizard can start, getting their getting this ability, and they're just casting AoE spells when they don't use it anyway. It just seems like there should be some wording here, and they should try to restructure this a little bit to kind of go what they're going for. Because I think
lends to adding everybody gets advantage on saving throws against being frightened. So at least everybody. So if the wizard does get this buff, then at least they have some advantage to taking it.
So yeah, my issue is just
even
the
though there's
here.
no reason not to take it.
There's literally no reason for you to say no. That why make a stick of this ability about them not accepting
RP,
it.
Dude. The RP.
My character wouldn't know.
My character's a pacifist. He doesn't get angry.
Yeah, he doesn't get mad ever. He's never yelled.
I don't know. The wording here just seems weird. If they're gonna make a stink about they need to be willing, and you're only getting the HP about their being willing, then there needs to be a reason for them not to take it. And right now, the way I'm reading this, there's no reason. If you get this feature, there's no reason not to take it because it's optional. You don't have to reckless attack. You can accept. I can reckless attack, but I choose not to. Here, I have 5 temporary HP because of it. It's just weird.
Tears the ropes off, grabs that dagger, and
yeah, it's a little strange. That's my only complaint with it. Other than that, I do agree with Bryce. I think it's some unique territory. I love to see unique territory, especially when it seems to work. But yeah, I think they need to reword that ability, in my opinion.
So, overall thoughts on the subclass?
It's cool. It's like almost like a druid hybrid kind of thing. I think it's actually one of the options for origins you can take. It's just kind of neat. It's different. I think it's a little close to the totem barbarian, because you have there's an ability in there that's like calling your inner bestial spirit, which is kind of what a totem is. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but other than that, I like the flavor. I just think it needs a little bit of tweaking.
Nate?
I like the flavor, and I want to play the class. Also, I like that it is kind of cool, like you said, like barbarian type nature-y lends to the wisdom, having a higher wisdom and stuff like that, just for RP purposes and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool.
Cool. Let's move on.
All right, yeah, I love the flavor. I like the idea of the something other than the druid getting to transform into some sort of animal, and I think this fills a niche that hasn't really been explored. Maybe not mechanically, but flavor-wise, is pretty different from. As long as you're not going for like the face spirit kind of aspect this totem warrior has, that there's kind of a nice flavor there that has been explored by barbarians yet. So I dig it. I look forward to the day when we can have an all like druidic animal party. See,
that's the weird thing. Before we move on, actually, I want to point out something that I've noticed, an ongoing theme, and I might have mentioned this. I might have made a comment on this in a previous podcast. I don't remember, but a lot of these recent Unearthed Arcanas, this one included, especially with the one we're about to going on to now, it's the flavor of these classes. Not all of them, but a lot of these classes that they're introducing are classes that are taking elements from other classes and infusing it into the subclass. Does that make sense? Like this one has like a little bit of like druidic kind of feeling to it, right? And we have the next one we're about to talk to has a little bit of cleric kind of pulled into it. It's an ongoing theme. It's almost like a weird way to multiclass without multiclassing. But the problem is when you do that, I think it's really easy to step too much on the toes of the original class and make it, kind of break the balance. But that's just a comment I wanted to point out.
Not even just that, but dipping in too many places can make something super strong very easily.
Right, for multi-classing purposes, which is granted an optional rule, but
No,
who doesn't
not in multi-classing. I mean specifically the subclasses themselves. If you dip into too many different things that are already in other things,
right.
then you just smash them together.
Mhm.
If it's a good idea and when it comes together, it's probably pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, anyways, let's take a look at this monk, shall we?
Yeah, so next we have the Way of the Mercy for the Monk, which, considering the last monk subclass that we went through, I'm sure this can't be any worse. So long as they can't make 12 attacks.
Spoiler alert, I hate this, but continue.
Excellent. So, Way of Mercy, starting at 3rd level, you get 3 things, it looks like. First thing is Implements of Mercy. You gain proficiency in Insight or Medicine of your skill of your choice, and you get proficiency with the Herbalism and Poisoner's Kit. You get the Hands of Healing feature. Your mystical touch can mend wounds. As an action, you can spend 1 key point to touch a creature and store a number of hit points equal to your roll of your martial arts die plus your wisdom modifier. When you use Flurry of Blows, you can replace one of your unarmed strikes with use this feature without expending its key cost. Hands of Harm. When you can use your key to inflict wounds. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 1 key point to deal extra necrotic damage equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die. If the creature is incapacitated or poisoned, the creature takes necrotic damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die instead. You can use this feature only once on each of your turns. Okay, before we get into bouncing and everything, before we get into everything else, can we just talk about how weirdly that part is worded?
Which one?
Because this is the only way I feel like this is the only time we've ever seen something worded like this, and it doesn't make any mechanical difference, it just weirds me out. If the creature is incapacitated or poisoned, the creature instead takes necrotic damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. Usually I feel like normally they just say like 3d whatever, or they say 3 times whatever, right?
It's worded weirdly, but I mean it makes sense because they want it.
No, it makes sense. It's just
Yeah.
it was a tangent. I just like it's weird that we've never had something weird like that in the books. It's
yeah, normally it does
issue, but-
specify the die, but
Yeah, but the problem with this is it's the martial arts die changes with the monks.
changes,
So they're trying
right,
to
so they
keep
have
it
to
to a
word it this
scaling
way.
measure.
I get it. Anyway, so on actual mechanics, I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Okay, so
They basically just have like cure wounds and inflict wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
smaller
So
amounts.
here's the thing: like, I probably wouldn't hate the Hands of Healing if it didn't have the part at the end where you can replace one of your Fury of Blows to heal. So now there's no point not to do it that way. So you're getting your extra attacks plus healing. So that's kind of crazy. I mean,
You're
other
basically still getting that bonus action attack that you'd get normally, but instead of that second one, you're getting the healing,
right.
which
Especially
is
later
still
on, you're still gonna
crazy.
be able to punch it, like 3 times and be able to drop a heal at the same time. And then
Can you move during your flurry of blows?
okay, and so I want to talk about, because the rest of this class,
You can divide up your attacks in between movements.
Yes, you
you
can.
could punch, go and heal someone, or you can just punch, heal yourself.
that's a good point. It does not specify you can't use yourself. You can just constantly drop that shit. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. I want to talk about a little
That's
bit,
true.
because we usually don't, for good reason, because it takes a lot of time, talk about like the flavor text of these subclasses. And I just want to bring into light a little bit of this section because it's weird to me. So the Way of the Mercy, the whole flavor of this thing is you're basically like a walking physician. You heal people, and you also are supposed to bring people who are evil to mercy. Okay. Now the whole flavor of this subclass. Okay, so we see it right here in the 3rd level abilities of you being able to do extra damage to people who are incapacitated and poisoned. In a minute here, we're going to talk about a poison ability that you're granting people. In what way is poison a mercy kill? Can someone explain that to me? I mean, maybe I guess there is some poisons out there that can kill you painlessly. But that's okay. So even with that example,
and also that's how a traveling physician that did this would have done it. They would either knock them out and then be able to kill them easily, or they would just use poison. I think it's because it's pretty literal.
Okay. I'm just saying it just seems weird to me.
It is funny though, just like, I wish no harm upon any beings.
Drink this!
Yeah, you're poisoned, and then it's like, oh, you're poisoned, you're not dead yet, so I'm gonna punch you real hard until until you die.
Punch in your liver, really
Well,
get that poison through.
Really get that poison in there.
Get it
I don't know.
pumping.
That's weird to me. Now, with that out of the way, I just wanted to put that out there. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'm making a big stink over nothing. But now on to the Hands of Harm. Holy shit. Okay?
Fuck, that's good.
The damage output here is insane. And for only 1 key point cost, 3 rolls of your martial art die.
Yeah.
Now, I want to point this out here. But as you level up with your class, you can... Before I go on, monks can drop as many key points on a turn as possible, right? They're not limited to... Okay,
It's just based on the
that's what I
feature.
thought.
So this is only...
Yeah,
Because it literally says this is only usable once on each turn.
So as you go in this class, and I guess I'm talking this a little preemptively, but and we're going to tie into a minute the next ability, which gives you a ability to more easily poison people. So you're going to be able to reliably use this Hands of Harm pretty crazily. Now, here's the problem. Later on the level, you're going to have extra attack, 2 attacks. Then you're going to have Flurry of Blows, 4 attacks, which is already, assuming you all hit, 4 rolls of your martial arts die. And then, with this fucking ability, you're giving them 3 extra rolls. Does anybody see a problem there?
It's just people like to roll dice, man.
Yeah, they like dice.
Like, wow, that's crazy. I don't
Not
think
to mention,
that's good.
like, it's you choose it after you hit, so you could be like, oh, I crit, Hands of Harm.
it's
fucking
just
6
like
extra
it's just like
dice.
Paladins. Yeah, that is for a monk. That is, you are exponentially increasing the damage per round of the class, which seems a bit counterintuitive because if you're going for a class that's all about healing, they should also be able to just fucking go crazy DPS. This is borderline. It's like in the same category as why we hated the Astral Self monk, is because their ability to damage output made all the other subclasses kind of pointless. I don't like
Just
this at
a
all.
stupid amount, more reliable than Paladin in that, like, the amount of burst damage they do.
Yeah.
At least Paladin's like pretty much spent after a while. When do they get their key points back? I want to say it's a short rest, isn't it?
They do, and thank you. I wrote that down and forgot to mention it. And the other thing is they get their shit on a short rest. So
Versus a Paladin where they have to long rest to get their spell slots back
Right.
to keep smiting, you can just take an hour
and also
and then be good to keep doing this.
again, I mentioned it before. You know, clerics who are known for being the kind of party healers. Now, obviously, everybody has to play it that way, but clerics typically have the access to the best healing magic, and they obviously can scale up with their spell slots. But even them, they're limited to their healing capabilities to their spell slots, which are long rest. A monk can short rest. Depending on the game you're running, if you're able to short rest a couple of times per day, you're going to be able to output more healing than the cleric, and that is a problem.
Easily.
That is
Because
a
keep in mind,
problem.
You have as many key points equal to your level, right? I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that's like basically the scaling that they do.
Yeah.
So at max level, and admittedly this is, again, max level play is a whole other thing, but that's your dice is capped out at a D10, and you have 20 key points. That is 20 D10 plus 20 times your wisdom of healing you can do. Take an hour to rest, and then you have it all back.
Right.
Yeah.
And granted, not everybody's going to use all that, but the point is the healing potential for this subclass is going to surpass the clerics. Well, maybe at later levels, I don't yet to get into the nitty gritty math because eventually clerics get crazy spells like heal and shit. But at least
but
for
that's
the
like a 7th level spell or something like that.
right,
Like,
so yeah,
knocks out
exactly.
something
So,
else you could have.
but for the early levels, definitely this monk is going to have way more healing output than a cleric, which is the bigger issue because let's be honest, most campaigns only go to like level 10, so you're going to see this more. I just think.
I
Again,
would honestly disagree. I think it gets worse. I think it's not so bad at lower levels because at lower levels you have like 2 or 3 key points, and you are going to be using those for like flurry of blows and other things, right?
but the
When you
problem
get to
is,
like, level 6 or 7, you only have like 3 rounds of combat on average, right? So you're only going to be able to use like you can only flurry of blows once per round. You're only going to be using half your key points, and then out of combat can just be doing healing.
The problem though, Bryce, is the flurry, the part of the Hands of Healing that you can heal as part of your flurry of blows, so you can do both. Right? I mean, granted, you're getting rid of one of your
Technically,
attacks.
you're not
right?
doing as much damage.
But you're
Foregoing one
still
attack, yeah.
you're still going to be able to, it's someone who's playing this, someone who takes this class is going to take it for the ability to heal, and so they're going to use it a lot more. So that means they're still attacking 3 times and pumping into a heal. Which, granted, the other thing we're not considering here is it's based on martial art die. So it's going to start out like a D4 at first and kind of grow.
Is
Plus-
that bad though?
plus
Like
wisdom.
if they just nerfed the damage of this class, is that necessarily bad to have other classes that have subclasses that are able to do other things?
No,
like,
no. That wasn't my point. I'm okay with like introducing elements of other subclasses and kind of making.
It's
like
just the fact that you can do both so well.
you
I
should
don't
be
like
able
the
to
fact that
outclass
you
the
get
other.
back on a short rest. The fact that like you
yeah.
can spend an hour and then have all that healing.
That's the problem.
back.
This wouldn't be an issue if monks didn't already
No.
have their innate get their shit on a short rest stuff. So I mean, a lot of campaigns, if you're in a campaign where you're not doing a lot of short rests, you're not going to really notice a difference. But if you short rest a lot, right, or in a campaign that kind of does that, the monk's going to be able to heal a lot more. I mean, let's take a look
Think
at
about the Bard's Song of Rest, where when you take a short rest and spend a hit die, you get the extra die roll for health. This is an almost better version where it's like, oh, I have like 5 key points. We're about to short rest. All right, here's 5 things of healing that I can just give out without any consequence.
I think this would be better structured. If they're going to keep with this class, I think this would be better structured to take out the key point cost. And I know that's weird because most subclasses for monks kind of just give you better options for key points. But I just think that having a finite
Wizmod,
abilities per long rest
you
for
are.
some of these would be more beneficial.
Yeah.
I'd have to do the math. I wish I had the time to do the math on here and really give an example, but and I really don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I mean, just look at when you get this ability at 3rd level.
Yeah, let's keep going along the different things we haven't even.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
The first
The
level 3
fucking
abilities.
monks, man, they.
Yeah.
At 6th level, you get Noxious Aura. As a bonus action, you spend 1 key point and turn your key into an aura of toxic miasma. Your aura extends 5 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover. Lasts for 1 minute until you are incapacitated or you dismiss it. No action required. While this aura is active, ranged attacks have disadvantage against you. Any other creature that starts its turn within the aura must succeed on a con saving throw or become poisoned until the end of your next turn, and take poison damage equal to your wisdom modifier. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's super fucking strong.
Oh boy.
Super strong, right? Super strong, overpowered, right?
That's pretty
And
fucking
move along.
strong.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that the ranged attacks at disadvantage alone would make this a good if that was by itself, I'd be like, okay, that's pretty good, fine. The fact that then also they are making the saving throw or be poisoned, giving them disadvantage on a bunch of shit, and are taking damage, and your hands of harm are dealing 3 times damage.
And that was exactly my point before.
Ridiculous.
That was exactly my point before. Is you have a pretty reliable way of poisoning because, granted, this lasts for 1 minute, so they're going to be making the saving throw, every turn. And then if it procs, then you're going to be able to do that extra damage, which I just think is crazy.
Yeah, and then even reading along to the next one because I wanted to compare since it was a healing.
Well, let's just read it out because I mean we've spent a lot of time in the earlier levels of this class. Let's kind of get it all on the table because I think a lot of the problems with this class is the fact that the stacking abilities start making it exponentially crazy. So go ahead and read the next one.
At 11th level, you get Healing Technique. Your skill in manipulating your key to heal increases. When you store hit points to a creature using your Hands of Healing, you can also end 1 disease or condition from the following list affecting the target: blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. Hand of Mercy at 17th level, your mastery of life energy opens the door to the ultimate respite technique. As an action, you can touch a creature and expend 4 key points and force the creature to make a con saving throw. The creature can willingly fail the save. Unless the save succeeds, the creature enters a state of suspended animation for a number of days equal to your monk level, or until you end the effect early, no action required. During this time, the creature is paralyzed, has immunity to all damage, and any curse, disease, or poison affecting it is suspended. Creature appears dead to all outward inspection and to spells used to determine the creature's status. You can only have 1 creature under the effect of it.
Okay, so
I'm so torn on that last one.
Yeah, let's come back to that one because I think that's separate from the issue that we were talking about before. But to Nate's point here, actually, I'll let you take the reins back over, Nate. You were saying something about
I was just reading ahead to the 11th level where the healing technique compared to the Noxious Aura, comparing how this is supposed to be a damage and healing class. Noxious Aura is just way too strong, and healing technique's pretty good. That the fact that you can end in combat while you're healing somebody who probably needs healing if they're affected by one of these things, you can end one of these. You can end the blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. If they just needed to go all in on this being a healing monk,
Yeah, I think that's what they should have done. I
Or
just
at
think
least
having
like
both is weird.
if they didn't change anything, if they at least swapped the 6th and 11th level abilities, that would be so much better in my opinion, because that 6th level is so much stronger.
It's still
See,
super.
It's still
Yeah,
way too
Well,
strong,
the
but
sixth
at
level
least like
ability having disadvantage
6th
on
level.
having disadvantage on range attacks, or wait, it's range attacks against you, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
yeah.
That part I just find weird. So you have this fart cloud surrounding you that makes people hard to hit you.
Yeah,
And if they do hit
can't see
you,
moving around
reaction
in the
deflect
gas, it makes
missiles
sense.
to even reduce what little
That's
damage they
true.
do eventually
Yeah,
hit
man,
you
that's
with. Like,
crazy. So here's one thing that just came to my mind, and I wanted to double check it, which is another reason that it's hard for this idea to work on the monk. Going back to the fact that they're basing all of these abilities on key points, or at least the initial abilities on key points, and the key points are returned on a short rest. Let's take a look at the Paladin, okay? A Paladin has a smite-like ability, which this class has with its necrotic horseshit.
well, the paladins don't have a smite-like ability; they have a smite.
Well,
have a
okay,
smite
sorry, the monk
They
has
have
the
a
monk has a
smite
smite-like
ability.
ability compared to the okay. So
it's very similar to Smite.
so
It's called
It's
Smite.
maybe I was wrong in comparing that this class has cleric capabilities. I think this is more Paladin-y like because of that reason. So it has a smite. The monk has a smite-like ability, and it also has.
I mean, it literally has healing hands instead of lay on hands. Like it's
Yes.
pretty fucking close to paladin.
The wording there, and so at this point in the subclass, right? This the 11th level ability, when you can start touching people and removing what is the? Can you read off the things? I'm reading a whole different thing.
Blind,
right
deaf, paralyzed, or poisoned.
Okay.
Or a disease.
Okay. A paladin has lay on hands. A paladin gets these 5 times per level. So that's effectively the math comes out is they get 5 points per 1 key point in terms of this effect. And a lay on hands can spend 5 or in the equivalent 1 key point to neutralize a disease or poison. So here's where the problem is. By 11th level, you have a little bit of a better lay on hands in the degree of you can touch people, and you can, for the same cost as the paladin's 5 lay on hands points, be able to also neutralize poison and disease, but also neutralize paralysis and blindness. And the paladin gets their lay on hands back on a long rest versus, again, the short rest for the monk with the key points. It's just...
And at this level, amongst martial arts dice, a D8, assuming your wisdom modifier is like a 3 at least.
Probably 4 or 5, yeah.
Probably 4
Yeah.
or 5. You're at minimum doing 4 to 6 points of healing. You could be you are very likely healing more than the lay on hands would, and curing a disease, and getting it back on a short rest.
Yeah. So you see, that's the problem. Do you see that there's a problem there? Like this class might work if it wasn't tied to key points. I think because, like I said, you're able to just get these back a lot faster than the classes that it's similar to. And I think Nate is right. I think they should have just stuck with the healing aspect, and they shouldn't have worried too much about the harm aspect.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I'm telling you guys, this is why I said the spoiler alert at the beginning. I really don't like this class. This is the second monk that they posted in recent UAs. I think it's a bit too much.
I think honestly they could probably like divide stuff up. I think if they gave the disadvantage on attacks, on ranged attacks, to like the healing technique, that would make more sense to me. It's a refuge. It's like a protective thing. So bundling those together would make a little more sense to me. If it was based on like a wisdom mod rather than key points, which I know you said it is weird because everything that a monk does is usually tied to key points, but it just would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, and the weird thing is too is like I think the flavor for this, I'm like picturing those like old school doctors with the fucking beak masks, right?
Yeah,
like plague doctors,
like a plague doctor. Yeah, the plague. That's the word I was looking for. It reminds me of it's super plague doctory. And
but that's fucking weird.
So
it's a monk.
That's what I'm saying. Like I wonder if
plague doctor. This just
that's my point. I'm wondering if this belongs. The idea of this plague doctor-esque flavor would work better in a different class. I don't know which one it would be, but I just don't think it works here. At least
a
not
new
as
artificer subclass.
Actually,
I mean, that'd be
you might be on the nose.
I think I'm on the nose. I think I'm right fucking there.
I think you might be. Yeah, I think that's
if not on, in the vicinity of the nose.
Right. So let's real quickly, because we spent a lot of time on this, because we obviously are expressing dislike.
Real quick, Hand of Mercy. I like the biggest complaint I see is this is a like a boss killer. It's just a chance for your boss is now asleep for 17 days. Admittedly, though, there is like I think monks already have like a level 20 ability or something where it's like make a saving throw or die.
No, I think you're thinking of Quivering Palm, where it's saving throw or take 10d10 necrotic damage, which by no means.
Okay, it's by no means an instant kill, but
The
I
point
mean-
is like 10d10 necrotic damage. I would take that over being paralyzed for fucking however long it just said.
but they're also immune to damage and everything, so this isn't
That's
that much
true.
different from just banishing them from a long time. It's not like they're gonna be able to kill them. It's
That's
just
a fair
like
point.
we've
Yeah, they
bought some time.
That's a fair
Yeah.
point. It seems weird
the-
though.
It is weird. What I love about this, though, and what is sadly kind of trampled on by one of the monk's base abilities, is I like this not being used offensively. I like the idea of the monk that is like, I am not needed right now. I'm going to put myself in a suspended animation until I am needed, and wake up. Because it doesn't say you're not resting during this
Then
time.
I'll be
so You could do
ready.
this infinitely and just be this like. I like the idea of this eternal, immortal monk that is just like frozen in time until they are needed once again. Marred slightly by the fact that the monk gets I think, one of their abilities where they just become immortal anyways. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, if they're not immortal, they don't. What is it? They don't age, but they age, but they don't appear to age. Or maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Maybe they are.
hold
Just,
on,
I don't remember.
they get Timeless Body
They
at
do monk
15th
shit.
level. Timeless Body, your key sustains you, so you suffer none of the frailty of old age. You can't be aged magically. You can still die of old
Yeah,
age. Okay,
so-
you no longer need food or water. So, necessarily, yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
Ever since Nate said that the flavor of this class should be an artificer, I just don't give a shit about it anymore, and I think we should move on.
That's fair.
I think
Yeah,
that's
overall,
I think that's just true.
flavor is nice enough in theory. Execution's a little weird, and it's just broken. Like the math just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
that is. I mean, that
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Overall, the concept of a plague doctor is pretty fucking cool. I would love to see a good plague doctor. I just don't think it works for the monk, and I don't think the execution here works either in a lot of different avenues. This class, in my opinion, needs a lot of work, or they
Two
need to
thumbs down for this class.
3 because there's 3 of us.
unfortunately.
Let's move on.
Well,
Yes.
2.
We have next is the Oath of the Watchers Paladin. I always just side thing. I just love all the Paladin subclasses because there's something awesome about the Oath of
Yeah.
like prefix.
Mhm.
I love all the stuff that come up with that. So starting with
Attendants are cool too.
the Paladins spells that you get. At 3rd level, you get Alarm and Chromatic Orb. Pretty decent. Alarm
Yeah.
is fine, but getting Chromatic Orb as a Paladin's pretty crazy. You're getting a pretty good
You
ranged
say that
attack.
now, but they get limited spell slots, and I'm pretty sure you're better off
Gotta be
still
using
just
the
smiting.
smites.
Just like,
Yeah.
All right.
especially once you get to 5th level and can do a second attack, like Chromatic Orb will not get a lot of use out of a paladin.
I guess that's fair. You'd better off with just using like a bow
Yeah.
or something.
I
suppose,
don't-
But
I don't think Chromatic Orb
still, I
belongs there.
like it. 5th level, you get Augury and Moonbeam. Moonbeam's just good. Augury's a neat sort of
Yeah.
utility thing.
Moonbeam's used in a few other classes too. That's not. Yeah, it's pretty decent.
9th level, you get Counterspell and Non-Detection. That's where it starts getting real good. Anyone that gets Counterspell is just fantastic.
Yeah.
BB knows all about that. 13th level, you have Aura of Purity and Banishment, which are
Get some good fucking spells.
pretty good. And 7th level, you get Hold Monster and Hollow,
And the hollow spell.
which, I mean, that's, I think, only a cleric spell. So that's neat that they can get that. Overall, the flavor of a lot of these is kind of the earlier. I've noticed with pretty much every subclass, the earlier spells don't all like they are the ones that most often don't tie into the flavor as much, just because there's not as many mechanics and things in the early level spells for them to like
Yeah.
flavor around. While higher level, you have like Hollow, which is all about like warding an area, which fits in with this subclass, which is all about like watching over and being vigilant over spellcasters, the planes and all that.
I think the other problem is, and I think it's a good point to bring this up. It's something that I've noticed on these subclasses that are coming out for paladins and clerics and stuff like that are adding new spells. They are still limiting this list to be the player's handbook, and I get why, right? They don't want you to buy whatever this new book comes out. They don't want you to have to own both the player's handbook and Xanathar's, right? You're saying I need you to buy all these other books to use this class, right?
Or the elements, the evil spells.
And I get that, but at the same time, Man, that's rough. That's rough because you have these fucking really cool spells
those
and
are
these really
cool
could work
shit.
here. Here's
Yep.
Wizards. If you ever watch, you probably won't. But here's I think there's an easy way to do this. I know you don't want to repost all your spells to this book because if you want all of these spells, you want to sell Xanathars. I get it, but just like the few couple of spells that you use, just fucking throw it in the book. Like even if you
Honestly-
use 3 spells from Xanathars, but put it in your subclasses, just put those spells in the new book that you're working on.
See,
So that way you can
it's weird
fucking
actually
use
I
them.
haven't done that because here's the thing, BB. You think that might be kind of like a far stretch for them, but whenever they post a campaign module, they repost monster stat blocks.
Well, what the
and
fuck?
they don't even change them.
It's a good point.
Like there are reiterations of the exact same monster in each campaign that they use them in. So why don't they just post?
I
those
really
couple of
think they
spells?
should because this would allow them so you're not running into the situation, which I get it. The community would be fucking pissed if they're like, buy this book, but you need to own the player's handbook and this. I get it. But just fucking take those few spells. It's not even going to be the whole list. It's going to be maybe 5 or 6 most, right? And put them in your new book you're working on. So they have reference to it in the same product. And fucking, you can tap into these. That's fucking cool spell list. There's some cool shit in that fucking Xanathar's book that would make some of these new ideas, new concepts fucking be way better than Chromatic Orb.
Yep.
Random
Uh,
orb.
on to the
I for
actual-
one like Chromatic Orb, and
See, the thing is, though, was like as a paladin, you have to hold on to this 50 GP diamond to
yeah.
cast your holy magic.
I don't
It's
think
just-
the chromatic that spell might get used a little bit in the early levels, but once you hit 5th level, that spell just not going to get the paladin's not going to get
I think you're right. Before you get extra attack, having that 3d8 damage is nice at range. But
Yep.
in any case, on the actual class abilities, at 3rd level, you get your Channel Divinity. You get Watcher's Will. You can use your Channel Divinity to invest your presence with a warding power of your faith. As an action, you can choose a number of creatures within 30 feet of you, up to your Charisma modifier, -1. For 1 minute, those chosen creatures have advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws.
No.
Dear Lord, that is good.
It's really good.
A little too good, perhaps. Basically the idea being all the like spells that extra planers creatures use that like fuck with mortals is those sort of saving throws like charms and whatnot. So I get it.
I definitely get it.
But
It's just
my God.
that's a big buff for an early level ability.
Why if they just made it something minor like a bless where it's like they get like a plus D8 or whatever like to their next saving throw, sure, but just advantage for 1 minute.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's crazy, man. Because you got to remember the math of advantage comes out to roughly about a +5. That's huge in 5th edition. That's a huge bonus, and that is to 3 different saving throws. Granted, only one of those is a major wisdom. The other 2 are considered minor and don't get a lot of uses, but still, like that, it's pretty good. That's pretty fucking good.
You also get
Definitely good.
Abjure, the extra planar. You can use your Channel Divinity to castigate unworldly beings. As an action, you present your holy symbol, and each elemental, fae, fiend, or aberration within 30 feet of you that can hear you must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature's turn for 1 minute or until it takes damage. Turn creature must move away as far as it can. Cannot willingly move in feet of you. For an action, it has to dash. If it can't dash, it can dodge. That's fine. That's basically the exact same as like pretty much every other paladin that has like if they have some sort of favored enemy, they get to turn them. That's
Yeah, it's
typical.
pretty.
The only thing I
pretty
don't
straightforward.
like is that covers a huge field, while
I agree.
others are like you can turn fiends, you can turn undead.
Yeah, I'm
This
glad you
is
brought that
you
up.
can turn like everything.
I'm really glad you brought that up. The amount of creatures is crazy high. So it actually, like, honestly, this one is better than all the other ones. So it's a little bit of a balance issue, especially when you combine it with the other option it gets. Like every other class, like subclass, excuse me, for the paladins, will have 1 or 2. Is it always 2 channel divinities?
It's always 2. There's
Okay.
usually there's something that's like a terrify and then some other effect. Not always, but
Okay. So all right. So my point is you have what was I gonna fucking say? Yeah, so you have all these other classes that have 2, and they typically have like one that's like a little situational, like similar to like you mentioned, a lot of them are like turning different types of enemy types, kind of similar to undead, but a fewer
well, to
list.
give you an idea, specifics. The Oath of Ancients has Turn the Faithless, which it turns Fae and Fiends. The Oath of Devotion has Turn the Unholy, where they can turn Fiends and Undead.
Right.
And then they both have then their own separate abilities.
Right. So my point is you have this kind of like a minor divinity that's kind of situational, and you have something that's usually pretty good. And I don't know, to me this just seems like they're both just really, really good because like you said, this other divinity covers a whole wide range of guys. And what's really frustrating as a DM, it really fucking sucks when you gotta make your bad guys run away. And it's nice to be able to have at least some of your bad guys not falling into the category of almost everything on the list here. That's a little crazy.
Yeah, basically, if they're anything from a different plane, they're gonna. And I get that thematically it works, and unfortunately, based on the class, it would be very difficult to strip
Yeah.
anything else from there.
That's what I was thinking. Like the flavor of the class just inherently makes it
Like you're
cover
supposed
a
to
lot of
watch against
things.
all other
Yeah.
planar creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So, I mean,
it's strong. It's very strong.
I think the way they could make it fine is you choose one of those types. You have access to all of them, but you choose one to turn. Admittedly, I don't know if that mechanically is very different because I don't know any
No.
situation where you're going to be fighting fiends
Yeah,
and fate at the
that's a
same
good point.
time.
I don't think that. I think they scrap it all together. In my opinion, like we see it all the time. Admittedly, the not to bring up our own shit that we've been working on, the Paladin we have working on in the works has a turn ability. Obviously not at this great range, but honestly, I would just be okay with getting rid of it. I'd rather them.
Not all of them have a turn ability as well. Keep in
That's
mind.
true.
So
That's true. It's used a lot, and admittedly, I use it too. But I think it would be more appropriate if you're going to go with this wide range of stuff, to just give them some sort of debuff. Not just make them useless for a minute, right? Just like maybe do something equivalent to Bane, but for a shorter period of time. I don't know. I think,
no, that'd be neat. Instead of like just making them afraid, you're actually like hindering them while they're operating on this plane. Yeah,
I don't know. Like it balance wise, like it a lot of other paladins have turn. I get it. It's just like you said. I am a bit bothered with how big that list is.
Yep, it steps over the toe, especially on top of the fact that the first one's just so good. Yeah, something that needs to be changed.
Yep.
7th level, we get R of the Sentinel. You mint R of Alertness while you aren't incapacitated. When you and any creature of your choice within 10 feet rolls initiative, you each gain a bonus of initiative equal to your Charisma modifier. At 18th level, this range increases to 30 feet. I mean, compared to some of the other auras, I'm kind of okay with this.
Yeah.
It ain't bad. I mean, initiative, you gotta keep in mind like that. All that's gonna affect is the turn order, right? And which really only for the flow of combat is really only gonna really matter for the first round. Once the first round's gone, like and the bad guy's got to take his turn, like the flow's gonna kind of go in a way. All this is saying is it's gonna give your allies a better chance to go before the monster, and which isn't too big of a deal.
I as a DM don't like that. I prefer initiatives that are kind of evenly spaced, where it's like maybe a player 2 goes, then some monsters, another player, some monsters, right? This stacks it more in the favor of all of the players might go first, then your monster, which very much leans into they might just, nuke most of your creatures.
That's true.
And then, that tips it way in their field. So
but I mean, this is just one of those things that a DM can easily counter, though. Just put in more monsters or put in monsters with this. It actually helps the DM because then you can know that this ability is there and maybe implement a couple monsters that are a little bit stronger so they can take a hit. And therefore have access to cool shit.
It's fine. It's a little. I'd rather just have players have a plus to saving throws than be like, all right, all 5 of us are gonna go first.
Well, the dice also still decide.
That's my own personal preference, anyways.
I get what you're saying. I don't hate it. It might be strong. I think this is just one of those ones that you really have to see in play.
Yeah. See if it's actually useful. Like it seems like it could be really nice, but who knows?
I'm taking a quick glance here at some of the other published abilities, though, and that one seems maybe a little higher, at least for the 7th level tie-in.
For your 7th?
Yeah, I mean, taking a quick glance, and I really don't want to get too hung up on it. Like, I'm not seeing anything that comparatively.
So just realized I misspoke because the aura that gives them the +2 saving throws is just a base paladin ability, so they get that.
They're still gonna get both. Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You're not wrong. A lot of these are like immunity to certain things.
Yeah,
like
this
arms, frightened, and whatnot, right?
Yeah,
so
if you
it's
compare
maybe
it,
a little strong, but
yeah, if you compare it to other 7th level
though,
abilities, I think it might be actually on the stronger scale for sure. Maybe the strongest.
Maybe barely, but I'd rather still. I feel like being immune to being frightened or charmed is better than like
True.
like you said, it's only helpful for the first round, and then it kind of evens
It'll
out,
kinda even
right?
out,
Like
yeah.
it's not necessarily, it's useful once and then
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't hate it. I like to see it in play, but I don't think it's one of those things that would break the game. I really don't.
Anyways, fifth level, you get Vigilant Rebuke. You've learned how to magically chastise anyone who dares cast unwanted spells at you and your wards. Whenever you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, you can use a reaction to deal 2d8 plus your charisma modifier to the spellcaster. Now that's a good ability.
Yeah, especially since
Yeah.
it's straight damage. There's no saving throw.
Yep. I wouldn't like. It's maybe a little crazy, but like just the utility of say someone like an enemy wizard cast hypnotic pattern, part of your party fails, but like one or two succeeds, you can reaction deal damage and possibly make them drop the concentration,
Right.
and then everyone basically succeeds.
My problem with this ability is I don't think it should be infinite. I think there should be a maybe per charisma cost or something.
For sure, it should not be infinite whatsoever, especially
Yeah.
considering some of these other abilities, while good, aren't necessarily in the same
Yeah.
realm of like just guaranteed 2d8 damage.
Yeah, I think they need to put a
Um,
usage cost on that. Like that's crazy to be able to do every single time.
Yep. 20th level, you have Mortal Bulwark. You manifest a spark of your deity's power in defense of your sacred oath. As a bonus action, gain the following benefits for 1 minute. You have True Sight up to 120 feet. You have advantage on attack rolls against elementals, fey fiends, and aberrations. When you hit a creature with an attack and deal damage to it, you can also force it to make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is magically banished to its native plane of existence if it's not currently there. On a successful save, the creature can't be banished by this feature for 24 hours. You regain this on a long rest. I don't like this.
This is a level 20 ability. Keep that in mind. And comparing to other paladins who get some crazy fucking shit,
Yeah.
it's
It's kind of cool. You're fulfilling your purpose.
the only thing I don't
But
like
why
is
can
having
you
infinite
banish-
advantage on the attacks.
Infinite advantage I don't like, and why can you banish everything? Like, why can you banish like
Yeah,
just
it
a
should-
dude? You punch a dude and he's gone.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it should just be the.
Well, I guess it does
whatever
say the
fuck.
creature's magically banished to its native plane if it's not there. So I guess
Would
if
be
you
a
did that, they would stay where they were.
Yeah.
It's not like banished where they get put in a pocket plane. So I guess that doesn't necessarily count. But
Well, that's all it is really is just banishment. It's just
Yeah.
banishment, but it's
how does that
permanent,
count
though.
for like what about dragons though? Where like canonically, like
Right. That doesn't make sense. It should just be against elemental, fey, fiend,
Yeah.
aberration. Like,
Well, here's the thing. Keep this in mind. Unlike the banishment spell that sends somebody to a random plane, the wording of this leads me to believe if you're fighting them on their native plane, then this ability has no effect. This
Yeah.
just says,
True,
"Hey,
yeah.
get off my planet, fucker." And then, but if they're
Yeah.
if they're like a dragon to
that's why I
your
think
to
it
your
doesn't make
point,
sense.
if you're, or a random
Oh.
dude, you're like, "Get off my planet, fucker." You're like, "Hey, this is my home. I'm not going anywhere."
Well, I was thinking more because like in Forgotten Realms, at least dragons like are
I don't
sort of
go
from another
nowhere.
whatever. But the
It
thing
would
that
depend on the
is I just
world, but my
realized-
point is this doesn't work on just everybody. If you're fighting them on their native plane, this
No.
ability has zero effect.
Okay,
by the
but
wording.
imagine this: you're going through the Elemental Evil, the Four Elements campaign module for Dungeons and Dragons. You get to the final boss, whatever. I have no idea what the actual ending is. You get to the final boss, and it's like a giant fire tornado. You punch it,
Ooh.
and it fails its Christmas saving throw and is banished back to its native plane. This doesn't say it comes back.
That's a fair point.
It's just there now.
It's just there.
It is.
So this is a chance to like. Admittedly, they only have to succeed once, but if they fail, that is basically killing that creature.
I mean, but at the thing though, like this is just a thing that can be countered by the undead. To your point, an air elemental is threatening to blow up the world. The paladin banishes it, but there's some fucking plot hook that makes it so you still need to go there and kill it. It's gonna come right back.
I guess.
And then
I
you
get
get, and then
that.
you get this
but-
cool satisfaction of, hey, I got it away from our world, who's fucking everything up, and now we're gonna go fight it in a place where it's not
I
fucking
guess
everything
at level
up.
20, maybe you just give them that. I suppose.
I don't honestly. The more I'm reading this, the more I don't. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool.
I
The
think
only
it's
thing,
super cool.
All right.
and the other thing that after rereading it and kind of for some reason ignoring the first line, like this is a bonus action, and you get these benefits for 1 minute, right? And if they succeed this save for this last ability, they're immune to it. So the saving throw thing, there's only one chance for it. If they save, they're fine. And then the
So would
attack
I.
rolls things, I thought originally it was
So would
advantage
I.
forever, but it's only advantage for a minute. So like this is on par for all the 20 level abilities. I really don't think this is bad.
All right, fair enough. So overall, the early level abilities I think are a bit too strong. At least I'd say really only the 3rd level, I'd argue, and maybe the 15th. But I love the flavor. I'm super down for, like, I love the Horizon Walker for Rangers and stuff. I love anyone that is like this vigilant
Yeah.
keeper of the
Paladins are so
borderline.
fucking boring. Oh, I'm all about good in my oath, and I'm
Not
gonna
always. You can
fucking
be- you can
stand up
be-
to my oath. Yeah, the one subclass. Fuck.
um,
I'm ever vigilant on my quest
not
to
necessarily.
watch.
You could be like an Oath of Vengeance. That's a whole different conversation.
So I feel like
maybe we'll have a Paladin episode of the podcast.
Don't love the flavor.
I
Mechanically.
don't like the flavor. I don't like the flavor, but mechanically, there's a couple things that are a little strong.
Yeah. I like the flavor. I think I was a little worried. I had to double check the Paladin that we were working on because I thought maybe this was in the same boat. Thankfully, it's not. Our Paladin's all about protecting people's minds from going insane. But yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
For a second, there is another
stolen it.
there is another subclass that we went with a similar theme with this, and I thought it was the Paladin for a second. So I was almost very mad because I'm like, they're hacking in, man. They've hacked
Like
in.
for the second time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tinfoil hats.
But thankfully, that's not the case. But no, I like it. I like it.
All right. So last one, we have something a little weird.
Love it. I love it.
Interesting. So, okay, admittedly, I'm gonna try and be, easy about this because I'm already biased against warlocks.
Mhm.
So we have the noble genie patron.
How
At
fucking
first
cool.
level, you get the expanded spell
Mhm.
list. We'll just go through all of them now. For your first level spells, you have fog, cloud, and sleep.
Okay.
At second level, you get enlarge, reduce, and phantasmal force.
Mhm.
Third level, create food and water. Okay, I just have to say, if you are a warlock and you cast create food and water,
Yeah, that okay.
just get a cleric.
Yeah,
Just
that-
get a fucking cleric.
I will say of this subclass, that one's dumb. That should get the other out of here. Get it out of here. You're not
Anyways.
you're not gonna take that spell.
Protection from energy. Fourth level spell
Not
slots,
bad.
you have polymorph and phantasmal killer.
Cool.
All right. Fifth level, you have Big B's hand and creation. All right.
Good choices. Good choices there.
Yes.
I'm really struggling here, man.
For the flavor
It's
here,
early
just so everybody knows, obviously with the warlock, you have your patrons. It's some being, typically extra planar of some sort that has granted you your powers by some bargain you struck with them. You fucking made a deal with the genie. Oh, fucking cool. Continue.
Yes. First level, you also get Collector's Vessel. Your patron gives you a magical vessel, which you can bind a creature to you in your patron's menagerie. The vessel is a tiny object, is your spellcasting focus. You decide what it looks like, and gives you a table. You can also choose from your typical, oil lamp, bottle, lantern.
Classic.
Your typical genie sort of vessels. If you lose your vessel, you can perform an hour ceremony to receive a replacement for your patron. I like the idea that just he's got this whole closet full of them. He's just chucking you spares.
Whole bunch of urns.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Here you go.
As an action, while you're holding the vessel, you can target a willing creature within 100 feet of you and create a tether of wispy elemental material that links the target to you. Tether lasts for 1 hour, or until you use the feature to create another tether, or until the bound creature reduces their hit points, or they end their turn more than 100 feet from you. So interesting, they can walk out of the range and then come back. While a creature is tethered to you, you gain the following benefits. You gain a bonus to your perception checks equal to your charisma modifier. When you cast a spell, you can deliver the spell from your space or the bound creature's space. You can create this tether a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, and regain these on a long rest. A little weird that's a long rest for a warlock.
How long does the tether last again? For 1 hour?
For 1
1
hour.
hour.
Yeah, but it's
Or-
a number of
yeah,
times equal to your charisma mod. So long as
3 to
that's
5 hours.
yeah,
and
you're gonna be able to go through that like without
Yeah.
really. The long rest doesn't really matter, because of the times. I think this is cool because you could put this on a friend, right? And it's almost
Well, it has
like
to be a willing creature, so it most likely would be an ally.
right. So you put this on a friend, and it's almost kind of like that classic like a djinn is like or a genie is kind of bound to whoever like just freeze them from their fucking whatever. So it's kind of similar to that, only rather than them getting like wishes or whatnot, like you're getting some cool shit. But like I really like the idea of being able to cast spells through, because what you can do is you can take some nasty touch spells and put this on your melee guy, and you're just hiding in the back and fucking letting your touch spells be cast through your.
Now you can Eldritch Blast from another 100 feet away. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it. It's cool.
I don't like that it's only you perception. Like, what I really liked about the Barbarian was giving abilities to other companions. Why not just give it to both of them? Why, like, if you're gonna give, I know later on you get things that aid the person you're tethered, but why not just share an immediate bonus with the person you're tethering with? Because right now they get nothing from it.
I agree.
Other than they have to stick within 100 feet of you, or else you've wasted.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, this is this is an action to do this, so you probably want to try and do this out of combat.
Right.
If they then if the fighter then needs to get 100 feet away from you or past 100 feet, then that has the issue of they could then be wasting your tether, and you'd have to spend an action to remake it. So give them like a reason at the early levels to stay in that range.
I agree, especially because later on in the class, some of the things go to your tethered creature. So I do agree with you there. I do think that the perception check thing, I think that's probably just it. The perception should just go to both of you.
That, or like, what would you say to give, like, you get perception and they gain a bonus to initiative?
Maybe that gets a little noodly though. Either way, I do agree. I think they should get a little something out of this. If they're going to be willing, they should get a little bit something out of it.
A little something to sweeten the deal.
But at least it does redeem itself, because the later abilities, they do get something out of it, which we can move on to the next one now.
Indeed, at 6th level, you get elemental resistance. Your patron grants you protection from an element. Whenever you finish a long rest, you gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage. Interesting that thunder's not on there.
Well, I think this is. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Continue.
While the tether of your collector's vessel is active, the tethered creature gains resistance to the damage type you choose as well. So now we're getting to you're giving them an actual tangible benefit.
Yep, you're getting a benefit. And what's cool is like, rather than other classes that just give you a resistance, this is one that you get to swap out. So if you're about to get into some shit, right, you can kind of prep for it, and then also your buddy gets it too. It's cool. No spell slots or anything required for it. It's just active. I like it.
Nice. 10th level, you get Protective Wish. You're now able to use your collector's vessel to wish for protection for yourself or your tethered creature. If you or the tethered creature is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to teleport, swapping places with the creature and switching which one of you is hit by the attack. Neat.
That's
I
cool.
I feel like you're never, as a warlock, going to be like, no, fighter, I'll take this.
Yeah,
right?
this is straight up. You're making your face.
Yeah.
This is I got sneaked up on and someone stabbed me.
Buddy,
the fighter just what the
yeah.
I like it though. I mean, it's neat.
Mm-hmm.
You also get Genie's Entertainment. As an action, you attempt to send a creature you can see within 90 feet of you to your patron's court.
I love this ability.
The target must make a charisma saving throw against your warlock spell save DC, or be magically drawn into your vessel and teleported to the patron's court in the elemental planes.
Oh, cool.
While there, the target is stunned, and your patron marvels at the target with amusement, but brings it no harm. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, reappearing in the space it left or the nearest unoccupied space if the space is occupied on a success. Once you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. If the target remains in your patron's court for 1 minute, the genie sends the target back at the end of the turn as if it had successfully saved, and you regain the use of this feature. So interestingly enough, you could spend an action, they succeed the saving throw, and then you just can't do this again, which is unfortunate. But it's basically like a free banish that if they are there the entire duration, instead of staying, they come back and you get to use it again.
Okay, so two things that I want to point out for this ability. One, first of all, balance wise, it's great. It's just you're basically getting banishment, but they fucking reflavored it to be awesome. Like, I love the fact that they specifically say your patron marvels at the target with amusement. That's great. So this is just a banishment that you get for free. Like no spell slots or whatnot. You have a chance to be able to just get to use it again. I think that's all perfect. But I want to take this moment to bring up a thing we said in a previous podcast episode, I think maybe 1 or 2 ago. And we brought up to a point, and I apologize, my brain isn't letting me remember the exact specific example, but there was a subclass that, and I think there might have been more than one, that basically they just gave that subclass a spell rather than just kind of reflavoring it. Do you guys remember
yeah.
that?
Was the psionics, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was one example. They're just giving them spells, right?
Right.
And then rather than like
Telling you to
reflaving
reflavor
it,
it as something else.
yeah, and we made that comment saying like, why don't you just reflavor it? Like, I get like you're trying to use
Just say
pre-existing.
you can cast banishment.
Yeah,
and
like
this
they
flavor.
could have went the lazy route, which is what we said in the previous combat. It just seemed kind of lazy that they're just saying, here, have this pre-existing thing. But they took this and they took banishment and they reflavored it so it made sense.
Yeah.
And like,
and made it mechanically different in a way that actually
yes,
is somewhat
this is what I
meaningful.
wanted. This is exactly what I was talking about. I wish I could remember the exact example and comment. I think Nate is right. I think it was based on psionics. But this is the shit I was talking about. This is what I want to see. If you're gonna take, you can take those pre-existing things in the game, but just fucking mold it. It's not hard to do, and that's awesome. I love this because of that very reason. I'm so glad they did it, and I hope they do it more.
And it gives you the cutaway scene in the middle of combat of just a genie flying around with this creature just, oh, look at the little guy.
I love it. It's so good. I want more of this kind of shit. You can reuse those same things. It's okay, but reflavor it. Show us why you're doing it. Don't just, I don't know. This is perfect. This is the kind of shit I want to see. I'm so fucking happy to see it in this subclass.
Yeah. 14th level, you get Collector's Call. In exchange for extending your patron's influence over the multiverse, you can call on more of their power. As an action, you can implore your patron for aid by making a charisma check against your Warlock spell save DC. Already interesting, you're making a check against yourself. If the check succeeds, you can choose one of the following effects. A creature you can see within 60 feet of you regains 8d6 hit points and ends one disease or condition affecting it, such as blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, or poisoned. A creature you can see within 60 feet of you has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn, or you can cast Legend Lore without material components. Whether the check succeeds or fails, you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. Alternatively, you can regain the use of this feature by sacrificing non-magical treasure worth at least 500 GP to your patron. This sacrifice requires the treasure to be at least within 10 feet of you for 1 minute, at the end of which you can use your action to teleport the treasure to your patron's realm, provided you have the vessel in your hand.
Again, fucking love this. For a couple of reasons. Like you mentioned, this is strange that you're rolling against your own self, but it makes sense, right? Because if you're a warlock, you're getting power from a patron, so the patron is effectively your DC, right? So that makes sense. You're basically making a bargain, and I just think it's fucking cool that you can bypass that long rest by fucking giving your genie treasure.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool, man. That's
Curry came up. Curry
money.
made a point of like the idea of the scene of just like sneaking into the royal treasures, like, oh, we'll be right back, and then you just go into the king's treasury and just whoop,
Yeah.
chunks of gold disappearing.
How cool! And some of these are really good. These are really good little buffs here, like massive heal. That's really good. And
a disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws that has no saving throw, considering you're kind of already making the saving throw.
oh shit, yeah, you just put it like as an action, and they just fucking get it.
It's only till the start of your next turn as well, which is like that means you're not gaining the benefits really because you've already spent your action. But
True.
like that's still pretty good. They're gonna have disadvantage on the attack rolls, on their turn, and if anyone else casts spells or does something, then they're gonna have disadvantage on that.
Definitely.
So it's still pretty good.
And Legend Lores is neat for sure, but it's definitely more out of combat role playing kind of thing. But still, I love. The only thing I would say is maybe add a couple more options because I feel like you're gonna get more use out of the healing one than anything. The disadvantage one, sure, but I do think that maybe a little bit more options would do this
Would be nice.
ability good. But man, I love it. I love it because it's the first time we see an ability that has a long rest refresh, and there's a way to bypass that with a different cost. Granted, it's money, but how fucking cool. Man, I love this.
But it is nice though, because it means you instead of using a spell slot, you have a slightly more expensive legend lore that you can just keep on reusing.
Sure.
Assuming you have the gold.
Sure. Yeah, what is the cost for legend lore?
I believe the math comes out to 450 gold because it's incense worth at least 250 GP plus 4 ivory strips worth 50 gold each. So it's about 450 gold so it's 50 gold more expensive and you're not using spell slots.
Right. But I mean, let's be honest, how often are you going to use this shit for legend lore? You're going to use it for the other two fucking things. So, to my point earlier, I think there should be a little bit like legend lore, sure, but let's give us a couple more options here. I love this. I love this so much. I think it just needs a little bit more of a tweak up. Man, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite I want this published so bad. This will be if this gets published, it will be my favorite Warlock subclass, 100%.
Oh,
I don't like Warlocks, so this subclass
Both of you can go to
sucks.
hell. All right. Both of you, I hate you.
I really don't like Warlocks, but I do like this subclass in
It's
flavor.
super cool.
Mechanically, I wouldn't. If I had to play Warlock, I would never play this because I want a Warlock that gives me like extra damage and other stuff. Like, so I'm not just like
Right.
just blasting. But I still dig it. It's cool.
I mean,
I like that it's a patron that isn't an evil bastard necessarily.
True.
You know, he's not some old god that you've sold your soul to. It's just a genie you made a deal with.
Yep.
Sure, it could be like a Fire the Afridi or whatever they are, and they could be like an asshole. But it could also be like an Urgin that's like just a cool dude.
I love it.
Just comes out and he's wearing like a Bob Marley shirt and he's he's like, "What's up, dude?"
I love it. I don't want to take a page out of Nate's book, but I want to fucking play the subclass. I really do.
Right?
I want
You
to play
like
this
the
shit.
flavor and you want to play this class.
I love
yeah.
the flavor. I really
Uh-huh.
This is probably my favorite UA in a long time. When I read through
Yeah.
this document was a bit of a roller coaster for me. If we're looking at this thing overall, because I was like, Barbarian, that's pretty good. Monk, what the fuck, Paladin? And then I was like, yeah, this fucking shit is awesome. Like, man.
Yeah, it really is. I probably will never play it just because I don't know, but it is the most cool and interesting and creative. That's a big thing. Like you brought up, actually being creative and
Mhm.
putting some work into why you're able to do these things or what's happening.
Mhm. I love it. I love this so much. I want this published, 100%. I think it needs a little bit of tweaking. To your point, I think the first level ability should benefit the vessel.
Yeah.
And then the second level ability just gives us a couple more options, and you got a fucking beautiful Warlock subclass. That is awesome.
For sure.
But yeah.
I think that's us done for the main segment of the show.
Yeah, so we're going to jump to an intermission here, you guys. We'll be back for the bonus action. I'll just talk about random stuff. You can ask us some questions. We'll just talk about whatever the hell we want. I don't know what that's going to be. I admittedly didn't prep anything for the bonus action, so we're going to be kind of flying off the seat of our pants. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Any last final comments before we take off?
I don't think so.
All right.